Okay, so I recorded a video yesterday about this person that was a butt, and how it like really energetically impacted how I was like. So I was talking about how everything's a video game, and this person had like kind of changed the power dynamic, and that's why like my inner child felt so unsafe. Because when I was a kid, like when somebody was a butt, given my family dynamic, I had to kind of make myself small and kind of just like pretend like nothing was bothering me, and like, I just went to my room and cried. I couldn't like express myself because it would just make the situation worse. So my brain automatically goes to that video game. It automatically goes to, okay, if somebody switches the power dynamic where they're, overpowering, then you have to be small, and I have to keep that energy within me and like just be sad. And because but the only reason you would feel sad is because you believe that that video game is true, right? And I had this wording in my head that was like, you don't have to feel everything. And it's not like don't feel your emotions, it's you don't have to feel that video game. So there were like three options that I was talking about, how this might be in a different video though, but where I had gone from, so she was like fire and I was like earth, and I just let her burn me, right? And it was like predator prey, versus there was another thought where she was fire and I could have been fire, and I imagined like a mouth breathing, fire breathing dragon or whatever, and it was like, right, and I could have like thrown that energy back at her. But I'm somebody who's very like peacekeeping. I'd rather not make something bigger if like I don't really have to, because it just doesn't feel right to, I just rather not. I'm more of a peacekeeper. I'd rather not rock the boat. Can you tell I have lots of Libra? Unless it but when it has to do with somebody else, I'm like, it's a lot easier for me to get fired up. Can you tell my Mars is in Aquarius? Anyway, enough about astrology. But what came to my, I saw an octopus somewhere, and it was like drawn on somebody's car, and I was like, oh, an octopi. That sounds weird. I feel like I should say octopuses. Anyway, avoid conflict. They avoid danger. They avoid situations where they feel like uncomfortable or whatever. But they're very intelligent, and I hadn't imagined. So it's either like, right, I make myself smaller, or I make myself kind of like bigger, like essentially equal to her, or I could be neutral. I imagine myself as like a little octopus looking at her from underneath the water. And it's like, no matter how many flames you put on this water, the worst that you're gonna do is evaporate some water. And you're just spreading my love into the world. Like, how big is the ocean? Like, you're not doing anything. You just look silly up there, right? So right now, like I've had it keep creeping into my mind, like that interaction. And like yesterday was so emotionally impactful. Like I'd start shaking, or not shaking, thankfully it wasn't like that bad, but I'd start like feeling really anxious when I think about it. And I've processed it, and like really processed, okay, this is why my inner child's afraid. It's because like I was used to, as a kid, just making myself smaller and crying in my room, whereas I don't have to feel that. I don't have to feel everything, meaning there are 3 video games. I could feel the video game where I made myself smaller. I allowed her to reel me into that video game where she's the predator and I'm the prey, right? Or she's bigger than me and I have to make myself small. The only like a rabbit's gonna feel fear if there's like an eagle around, right? Because it understands that is the game they're playing. Like, it will die if that eagle finds it. So it's like terrified, right? But I'm not a rabbit and she's not an eagle, right? I'm a human being and she was being a butt, right? The other video game is where I could have like, right, been that equal, but I forgot why I said that again. Anyway, oh, I don't have to feel everything. I could have felt into that, but by like realizing that my inner child was defaulting to that other video game, I was like, oh my gosh, it's an option. It's an option. You can choose what you feel, but you have to break it down to process, right? Because it's not just stop being sad. You can't just, you parent your inner child by being like, stop being sad, okay? Like, just because you're in a library doesn't mean that you feel safe, because you're reading this book where somebody's in a lion's den and you're so invested that you don't even know how to look up, right? So it's kind of parenting the inner child of, why are you scared? And then, you know, slowly but surely that child will realize it's reading a book. It's in a library. It's safe. It's okay, right? Because it was just somebody being a butt. I could have walked away from that, been like, wow, she wasn't very nice anyway, you know? Like, she could have been a little more polite about that, right? But I didn't. I was terrified, like, energetically, not of her. It was just like, right, this like fear instilled in like a rabbit when it sees a predator. It just is afraid. It's just instinct, right? So it's reprogramming that instinct, but by breaking it down and realizing, okay, that's a video game, that's what I default to. Now I realize that that's what helped me when I was a kid, that's what kept me safe. But now as an adult, that's only harming me, because now I'm anxious and I can't live my day peacefully, right? So realizing that I can enter this new video game and like really looking at it as a video game, because now I can default to being neutral about it. And that's why when I think about it, I can imagine myself as that octopus and her just like screaming at the water, just like, and she wasn't screaming at me, but it was just like, imagine, it was just like rude and passive aggressive, and it was just like uncalled for, honestly. I get her frustration, but it still doesn't like excuse it at all, like the way that she spoke to me. But so when I think about it, I don't get like anxious in the way that I was yesterday when it first happened, before I processed it, because releasing the energies. You're welcome for my burps. But I can imagine myself being neutral and just realizing like the reality of the situation. I'm not in the video game in my head of that trauma. I'm in the reality of this new video game that I want to live in, which is, oh, it's somebody being a butt. That wasn't nice of them anyway, you know? Like, I'm gonna be nice because that's what feels good to me. Other people may wanna like be rude back. It's just not in my nature. I'd rather not. I prefer peace, right? God will take care of you. God knows exactly what he's doing. So I'm just gonna keep my peace, by expressing peace, but also by in order to keep my peace and not allow that to affect me, I have to realize I don't have to enter that video game. I can enter this new video game. But like, I was thinking about it like just now, and just like, it's been popping into my head. Even when I first woke up, like, it was like one of the first things that popped into my head. And I feel like in order, once you finally processed, you know, your emotion, I'm not saying like completely disassociate from it, obviously, because I was trying to do that at first, and I just still felt the energy. I could feel that I was kind of unsettled, and then I recorded a video, like me explaining about everything and how I was talking to my inner child. You can't just tell it to stop feeling that. You have to explain, like, why do you feel that way, to really get the child to see it's safe. But it's stuck in this video game, in this book, and you need to speak to the child and ask it why it feels that way, for it to realize that it is reading a book, that it's not actually in a lion's den about to be eaten alive, right? And that made me feel better by, logically looking at the situation and realizing, okay, like, I get to choose what I feel. I don't have to feel everything. I don't have to feel that past version of being. But since it's kept coming up in my head, I haven't felt like anxious in the way that I did yesterday, but it kept coming in my head, and I was like, why? You have to think about it as a video game. I know I already said that, but I mean, in this context, I mean it a little differently. When you stop playing a video game, you might be like, oh, I could have won that battle. But if you want to really like live your life properly, you want to keep your game time away from your real life time, right? You want to focus on the things in your day-to-day life. You can't keep thinking of, oh, if I had done this, if I'd like put this other thing, then like, you know, maybe I could have won that battle, or like, you know, whatever. And if somebody's a butt to you in a video game, like if you're playing GTA and somebody's like, you have an ugly hat, or I don't know, I don't play GTA, but like, you know, it's the only game that I know where like people interact with you. I live under a rock because I know there are so many others, but anyway, like strangers can interact. I don't know. Anyway, that was just my example. So we're gonna go with GTA. But you know, somebody could be like, oh, I hate your hat, and you'd leave that video game and then like go back to your life and be like, anyway, you wouldn't be thinking like is my hat ugly? Like, so what? You know, like you separate that gameplay from your real life, and like you have to also create that disassociation from once you've processed the emotions and been like, okay, like I realize, you know, the situation, like I don't need to feel anxious. And it's not, you know, it doesn't help by just saying like you don't need to feel anxious, obviously, but what's obvious to you, to the parent, the responsible one in your brain, but the child doesn't know that, right? The child is in survival. It's still in what it learned as a kid, what it kept it safe. So you can't just be like, you're fine, like everything's okay. It's not okay though. That kid is still shaking, right? So it's like, when you ask that kid why, it really makes it start to question, actually, why? But it's once you've processed that, then, if that's still ruminating in your brain, but you know you've already processed it and you're like, okay, I am consciously realizing that I don't need to feel that reality. That's not my reality because I don't like it. Like, I've processed it and I don't need to live in that reality. It's not helping me. It's actually hindering me. And there's nothing about it that I like, so I'm not going to stay in it because it's not helping me. I don't like it. What else is there to have, right? So once you processed it, and I just really want to hammer in that, like, I'm not saying like disassociate from your emotions. I'm saying once you've already processed it and it's still coming up in your brain, literally remember everything's a little video game. Like, every dynamic with everybody is a video game. Like, you're choosing to be one character and they're choosing to be one character. You have a best friend that you love hanging out with them. Your video games is you get to have fun, you can laugh and play, and you can also like build little cities of like rainbows or something, I don't know, you know, where like you imagine what you want to do in your future, or, you know, just like messing around and painting, but then you can also like cry with them and like be, you know, sentimental and talk about deeply profound things spiritually, mentally, emotionally, XYZ, right? It's all a little video game, but you're deciding to play that video game because it feels good, right? And it's also helping you learn about yourself and just be generally more joyful and enjoy this lifetime. You're meant to feel good here. Like, that's honestly the point of life, is to live, to feel good, not to survive and try to exist with the minute thing that you've been told you should have, right? Like, oh, you need to live this life, otherwise you're going to be unsuccessful for the rest of your life. I wholeheartedly believe that wherever happiness grows, money will flow. Or you could say it the other way, wherever happiness flows, money will grow. I usually say that money will grow one, but either or works. But I think the happiness grows is better, because wherever happiness is getting bigger and bigger, and just like you feel so content within your life, and you're like, yes, money will flow into it and it will grow out of the ground where your happiness is coming from. Or at least around there, you know. But it's like you have great soil, and it may not be like the fruit or the plant might not grow exactly where you're staring, but like, you know, it'll be around. But yeah, like, remember to disassociate from it once you've already processed it and you're like, okay, cool, like I've already consciously realized I'm in a new reality, I don't need to feel that because that's not me anymore. Then, okay, remember to dissociate. That's a different reality. I don't need to keep thinking about that because I've already dealt with it. That's a video game that I played earlier, and I've already processed that I don't like that video game. And I also don't have to feel that video game. I don't have to feel the fear of that other reality. I could just be like, oh, okay, that person was a butt anyway, right? You don't have to feel that other sense of being. If it doesn't feel good and it's not helping you, leave, right? But yeah, I guess I just want to bring that up because it kept coming in my brain. It was bothering me. I was like, bro, like, get out of my head. I've already processed you. Why are you still here? I think it's just like, once you processed it, disassociate from it. Like, leave it, you know? Like, leave it alone. Like, find other things to think about. Find other things to do. And like, I'm doing other things, but it kept popping in my brain, and I was like, why? Like, why do you keep coming? And maybe later I'll find some other reason why. Maybe it'll keep coming, and like I'll find some other reasoning or whatever, but what's coming to mind right now is just remember to like leave it alone, abandon that ship already. Like disassociate was the word that came to my mind earlier, just because it's like disassociate, like a remember to separate your real life from like your content, the things that you're doing in your life to make you feel great and to evolve you and to grow into the person that you want to be. You know, I'm just like making a drink, like I'm making myself a little hot chocolate, a cold chocolate, a jockey milk, and then I was gonna eat something, you know, like while like these videos are downloading onto my Mac so that I can upload them, and now I'm making a whole other one. Oh, other one? Is that what I just said? Anyway, but yeah, remember to separate those two. Like once you've already dealt with it and you're like, I've felt that, you know, maybe later if you really feel, because that's the thing, it kept popping in my mind and I was like, is there something else that I need to process? And I was like, maybe not. Like I feel like that's really it, you know, like what else is there, you know? But I was like, why does it keep popping in my brain? And maybe it is just that I need to learn how to let it go, right? But I think maybe it is that artist part of me, that creative, that like wants to make the most out of everything and doesn't want anything to be wasteful, and is like, let me just see, is there anything else that I might need to learn? Like, is there something else for my growth? Is there, you know, it's just like I see into everything, and my brain's just trying to make sure that I like squeeze every last drop out of that lemon that God has given me. But yeah, at least, you know, especially if you keep thinking about something and it's like hindering your day, or it's just it wasn't like horribly affecting me, right? Because I wasn't getting like anxious about it, but I was like, dude, I'm trying to make myself a little drink, I'm trying to have myself a little nice day, but like it keeps popping in my head, and it was slightly, just a little bit, starting to not annoy me, like I was getting annoyed, but I was like, why? Like, why are you still here? Like, what is that? Like, what is there something else? But I don't know. At least for now, I think maybe it's just I need to disassociate from it and realize that was a gameplay. This is my new gameplay. This is my new empowered being. The new empowered being doesn't keep thinking about something that it's already dealt with, right? And if I think about something later that maybe I need to reprocess, then cool, great. But it could be that, like, you know, it's like I'm trying to squeeze something out that isn't there, or like I haven't gathered, how do I say this? It's like I have a lemon squeezer. I've always used lemon or lime squeezers, like the little thingy. And now whenever I see somebody do it by hand, I'm like, you're not getting all of it. And then they just throw away the rest of it. And I'm like, there's so much left. Like, what are you doing, right? And I feel like, you know, in these moments, sometimes we like try to squeeze out as much with our hands, so when we're like hurting ourselves, and it's like, you're not going to get any more juice out, even if there is juice in there. Like, it could be that God is going to give you a tool in the future, like this hand, you know, like the lime squeezer thingies, the little thingamabobs, whatever, in order to properly make the most out of that experience. But it could be that I haven't received that yet, and my brain is just like, let's get it all out now. But it's like, maybe I just don't have the tools to get, maybe there are more lessons within that moment, but there isn't anything I can think of now, and I likely don't have the tools right now. Otherwise I would think about it right now, right? Like I would have already had the little epiphany, but I haven't. So at least for now, like, I think it's just about disassociating from it, realizing that was something that already happened. I processed what I needed from it. Now let's, you know, move on to whatever else is coming into my life so that I can make the most out of what's in front of me, right? Because otherwise I'm going to be tainting everything else with that memory, and like, I may not be like anxious about it anymore, but it's still like, I don't want to think about somebody that was rude to me, somebody that was passive aggressive, somebody that, like, you know, although it was a blessing in disguise because I processed that and like I made a video about it, and I, you know, hopefully maybe it'll reach somebody that was going through a similar, if not same situation, so that they can help themselves. Because I like to see it as like, I had to solve this puzzle, but I didn't have like a reference picture, and like these videos that I'm making is like giving somebody a reference picture, and your puzzle might be a little bit different, but it's like maybe we're both in the desert, and it's this reference picture will let you know, okay, I know that I may not have all these plants that's in this reference picture, but I know that like things like daisies or like an oak tree or whatever, you know, plants that don't grow in the desert won't be here. So that helps me understand, okay, like I have some kind of action plan, right? So that I can understand this. And that's kind of the point of me making these videos, so that if anybody else is going through something where they're like, geez Louise, like I wish I had something to grab onto, right? Like even if it's just like a fourth of the image, like give me something that that will help me process what I'm going through. Because it's difficult. Like I remember sitting with myself for like at least 30 minutes, maybe an hour, thinking about like why did my inner child feel so unsafe yesterday, over somebody just being rude to me, right? Being passive aggressive. And it was because of that survival instinct where your brain doesn't differentiate the difference between being physically unsafe and somebody like screaming at you. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know that I was physically safe, because I've seen this person become violent before, and like I didn't know that it wouldn't have happened toward me. Now I know that as an adult, knowing more about this person and the situation in general, but I didn't know that as a kid. So now when things like that would happen, like yesterday, my brain didn't know that, because I was still stuck in that childhood trauma like response of that video game, of defaulting to, okay, now I'm unsafe, or well, realistically I don't know if I'm not unsafe, right? But yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I hope this helps somebody, maybe help you stop thinking about something if you've already processed it. If not, then I will see to link that other video down below talking about the person that was rude to me. And it's not about being rude, it's about like being passive aggressive and changing that power dynamic, and like me defaulting to prey, right? And like to being smaller and like being sad, because I thought that like I had to feel that, but because that's how I, you know, because I left that and I was like, I still feel this tenseness, maybe I need to cry. And I started crying, and it was horrible. I talk about it in the video, but like it was like this energy was siphoning. It was like the energy wanted me to cry. It was like it wasn't it. What I needed was to realize that I don't need to be in that gameplay. I could be in an empowered one where I'm neutral and I'm like, you look silly. That's not nice of you. I don't have to say that, but you know, God will take care of you. I don't have to say anything, but just watching and being like, okay, you look funny. And again, I don't have to say that, but just in my head, just like neutralizing it, right? And not having to take it to heart and playing into it, because the reason they would act a certain way where they change the power dynamic is so that you become small, so that you feel small, so that they feel powerful over you. They can play that game, but I don't have to feel the game. I don't have to feel like I'm reading that book. I don't have to emotionally involve myself into that book, movie, whatever. I can look up, realize I'm in a library, and I can see the book in front of me, but doesn't mean I have to, you know, and I might be reading it because I kind of am in the situation, right? I kind of have to deal with it, like situation-wise, physically, but I don't have to deal with the emotions that they're trying to, you know, evoke within me. Even if it's like subconsciously, right? Because I think with her, maybe she doesn't realize, you know, some of us are just really asleep, and maybe she wasn't trying to like make me feel bad, and that's kind of what I feel. I might be wrong, but I feel like she isn't somebody that's like, I want to make you feel bad, you know. I think she's just, I'm assuming that, you know, that's something she learned from her childhood, where there was somebody that kind of had that power play on her, where or she witnessed that, right, where it was, if I want something, like it's gonna happen in the way that I want it to, and that's just what she learned, and so she thinks that's right. Because like I think I dropped something, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, and she was so like polite, and then it went straight back to that, and I was like, that's so interesting. Like that's so, like it really shows. I don't think she was trying to like just make me feel bad. I think she's just asleep, and that's the video game she lives in her whole life, and it's honestly kind of sad. I don't feel bad for those people, just because I know God orchestrates everything exactly the way that it's meant to be. It's just like a radio signal, like a radio that only plays like screamo songs, you know, like it's for somebody out there, but it's definitely not for me. Screamo scares me. I don't know about y'all, but like, Screamo's scary. I don't like hearing things that sound like bloody murder. I don't know. I'm very peace, calm, loving. Like, I guess I was hoping this would express how I feel, how I want things to energetically feel. Like, I'm just like, you know, like you can like close your eyes around me. Like, it's like you're so at peace that you could just drift off into the air and start floating, you know? Whereas with her, it's like, you know, like you need to be watching all the time, and that's not what I like. But yeah, I think that's all I want to say. Be conscious of where you are. Some people don't mean to be butts, but they are, and you don't have to deal with that, you know? And even if you have to physically deal with it, you can disassociate from it. I don't have to see her ever again. But if you're in like a job or something, or in a relationship, I'm not saying disassociate from it. I'm saying deal with that. But then once you leave it and you're still like, it's still coming into your brain, you know, and you've dealt with it emotionally and you've gathered all of the lessons, all of the juice out of that lemon, you know, throw it out, at least put it to the side, you know. And then if needed, God, if you get another tool like a lemon squeezer, then God will represent that, not represent, I mean like represent that lemon for you, just so that you can squeeze out anything else you may need in there. And also it won't be as like energetically traumatizing because you've already logically realized, okay, I'm in a new video game, I'm empowered, I don't need to feel powerless and like cry afterwards, right? I'm not anxious anymore. You could just go, okay, I'm powerful now, but what else may I need to get out of that logically, right? But I currently don't have a lemon squeezer, so I don't know if I'll ever need a lemon squeezer. Maybe I'm not going to be making lemonade anymore. Maybe I'll be making like grapes. Maybe I'll just need my feet, you know? We'll see. But yeah, I hope that helped. I hope you enjoyed my little ramble and my ADHD pauses and all of the whatnot. There's another word I'm looking for. I can't remember, but I hope you have a lovely day. And remember to breathe deeply. Drink water. It's important. Hopefully water that doesn't have that much fluoride, because I don't think you can find water that doesn't have fluoride in the States. I could be wrong. I mean, like, if you live in the city, I don't know if you, maybe it's different, like on like the countryside, like urban, is that what it's called? No, rural, in like the rural area. Urban is the opposite, isn't it? I'm funny. Anyway, yeah, I hope this gets easier for you. I think it will, and I hope this channel could be a place if anything is hit kind of home for you at all. I hope maybe you can find some other videos that seem to kind of relate to you, and I hope they bring you a little closer to yourself, what you perceive to be God, what feels just in general right to you. You know, I just want to be able to help people empower themselves and let them know that the power is within you. You've just been looking elsewhere, and that's why it hasn't been working, you know? Not to say people can't help you from outside, but there's a lot more on the inside than you think. There was something that I wrote that was like, you could be walking in the dark and stumbling and falling and over and over, and you think it's because you don't know how to walk. But it's just because you're tripping over all of these light bulbs and lanterns and all these other light sources, candles and matches, and God is slowing you down because he's like, dude, your life could be so much easier if you just let some light in, if you just felt around, because you won't be able to see it yet. Sometimes there will be somebody, like here, hopefully, I'll be able to light a match long enough for you to light one of your own candles. But, you know, at some point, you have to do it on your own to maintain it in your own life. And sometimes we're not, sometimes there isn't anybody, sometimes there isn't anything, and sometimes the light just isn't bright enough from those outside sources to see around us. So the one way that you can definitely find your light sources is by feeling them. You have to just close your eyes and feel into the darkness, into the depth, into your demons, and hold them like they're your babies. And then realize, oh my gosh, they're candles, and just feel it. Be familiar with it. Allow your feeling to become your eyes. It might take a while, because at first it's like, what the heck is this? What are these? This is weird texture, this wax, what is this? Why is it slippery? Why does it smell like, I was gonna say an oven mitt. What? I meant to say like something nice, like strawberry pound cake, but like an oven mitt? Why does it smell burnt? Oh my gosh, it's like been used or something in the best way by your spirit guides. They've been trying to turn it on, but you're not listening, you know? Or God, or whatever you believe in, your ancestors, you know, whatever feels right in your spirit. But maybe you from a past life, who knows, if you believe in that, you know. But yeah, you have to feel it. And then once you I was gonna say once you feel confident enough, but honestly, especially if you're a perfectionist, even if not, it's just scary in general. You'll never be ready. You'll never be ready, because you're already ready. If you want to do it, you're ready. You have all the things. You know you have all the things. You just keep telling yourself, wait, I need something else. I need something else. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. If you want it enough, just do it. You might burn yourself in the darkness. But that's the fun of figuring out how to be successfully human. Realizing that mistakes are the fun part. It's part of the process. You wouldn't know yourself. Well, sometimes it's better to know the things that you don't want, and you don't like, and you don't need, than it is to know the things that you do. Because when you know what you don't want, you just made your pool smaller. Okay, I don't want this in a person. You're out, right? Versus, oh, I want somebody in my life that's nice. I want a friend that like understands me, or like, you know, is polite to other people and not just me, or blah blah blah, is really optimistic, whatever. But even within that, it's like, okay, I don't want somebody who's overtly optimistic. I want somebody who like works on themselves, aka somebody who doesn't, you know, just like take everything that life gives them, even if it doesn't feel good, you know, actually takes power over their life, who realizes that they are the God within their life, aka they are the creator. The definition of a God is a creator, right? And I'm not saying you're all of God. I explained that in another video, but it's like saying a light bulb is all of energy. There's energy within it. So I am God, but I am not all of God. I have an essence of God. It's like if God were the ocean, I am a droplet in the ocean. I'm not all of the ocean, but I am God. I am the ocean in a sense, you know? I am just a droplet in it, but, you know, take with it what you will, but, you know, you are the creator in your life, and you need to realize what you don't want in order to really maintain the things that you do. I think we'll cut it at that, because that goes with the original topic of, you don't want to keep thinking about this thought because it's not helping you. I mean, there's nothing left for me to squeeze out, right? I can't think of anything else. But then there's that inkling. It's like that little demon that's like, ooh, feel that anxiety again. And I'm like, that's not mine. I don't live in that reality anymore. I don't like that video game. I'm not getting anything from it. In fact, it's making me feel worse. So it's keeping me from doing the things that I want to do. It's keeping me from living the life that I want to live. The one that's more aligned with faith, with God, with love, with light, with true happiness. So I'm not going to keep listening to you, you know? And, like, that's the thing. Maybe it is that. The, like, demons are just like, let me reel you back in. So it's like, think about it again. Let's see, like, maybe I could get you back into this old video game. No. I've gotten all that I need. It doesn't scare me anymore. And you know, it takes some integrating. It's slowly like fully integrating into my body. But now that I have it locked in my brain, it's like you have all the rules to this new game. So then anytime you're doing something and you get maybe a little confused, or, you know, you slowly start to play the other game, like the rules of the other game, you're like, oh wait, these are the rules. Okay, I don't need to feel X, Y, Z. Okay, cool. I'm empowered. Okay, I am in control of my emotions. Okay, you know, and it's not just like stop feeling that. It's why am I feeling this? Realizing that you feel that way because you were in that old game, not because it's you, right? Who you are is what feels good. In order to do what feels good, you have to realize what reality you're in. And realize that you can switch them if you don't want that one, especially if it's harming you. So, yeah. I tried to end this video like 3 times, but I think we'll leave it at that. I hope you all have a marvelous day, and thank you for listening to my little ADHD brain. And yeah, let me know if you got anything from this. Again, I want this place to be a community where, you know, I can't really go to church because, like, do you hear what I'm talking about? You know, like, I brought up astrology earlier, you know, they're like, that's the devil. That's a whole nuanced ADHD moment that I can have, but what I think the devil is. But anyway, and there aren't really, like, just spiritual places where you can speak to, and I feel like with spiritualists, modern day spiritualists, I'm like too religious for them, because like I like reading the Bible, but it's a cool book, bro. Like, it has cool, interesting stories, and I think you can get a lot from it. Maybe not from every story, but like, it's kind of cool. I've only completed 1 book. Book of John is pretty great. It really, like, if you're somebody who believes in spirit guides, the Book of John is it, especially the end. It's just like, especially if you're somebody who's really good at like seeing signs and things, like if you're a seer and you can like look at one thing and be like, oh, this means this and this and this and this, and like you're really good at that, you will have a field trip with the Book of John. At least I did. I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus is so funny. He really is though. Like, that man was, I don't want to curse, but like bad as, we'll say as, he's cool, he's funny, but he's a rebel. Like, I think if Jesus was alive today, like in an incarnated body, and like his own spirit was in a body, Jesus would not be religious. I mean, hot take, but I really do not believe he would be religious. I mean, he was contrary to what they said back then, so like, anyway, you know, it's easy for someone to be like, oh, believe in Jesus once, you know, it's already written, and like, you know, all these things happen and now they had reason to believe. Everybody believes in you once you're already successful. But would these people believe in somebody who didn't align exactly with all of their beliefs, who was a spiritual rebel? I guess I'll leave that question to you, but okay, I'm officially ending this video. Can you tell I'm that friend that like doesn't stop talking even after you say bye? It's been lovely having you. But yeah, comment down below anything, like, I don't know, maybe you're going through or whatever, because again, I want this to be like a little community where we can, like, again, we don't have church, we don't really have spiritual moments, so like, or spiritual like clubs, I don't know where to go to, so I kind of want this space to be kind of like that, like our own little spiritual church where we just talk about how we're spirits in human bodies trying to figure this whole thing out, and like empowering ourselves and getting closer to the light of love, which to me is God, energy, source, vitality, happiness, sustained happiness, sustainable happiness. Cool. Any closing thoughts? Let go and let love. Oh, let go and let God. Ooh, I saw the Buddha, and I just, he always has his hands up, and it's like, if you were to just put your hands up and look at the bigger picture of life, you would just start laughing at everything, because you'd go, wow, like, I'm like hyper focusing on one little thing. Like, life is so big, there's so much more to grow from. Like, There's so much more happiness that's to come, and I'm worrying about this little thing. When you were to really look at the bigger picture of life, you'd really realize a tiny little thing. And when I say it doesn't matter, I don't mean your emotions don't matter. I mean, it's not as big as we make them. It's not this terrible, scary thing. Like, it might be an avalanche, but you're looking at the whole earth. That avalanche is just like a cute little, it's like your puzzle piece is just changing like colors a little bit. It's like, oh, it was white, now it's like green. I see more earth. Cool, interesting, right? Like, rather than being, oh no, right? Look at things from curiosity, not from judgment. Your life will be a lot easier and flow a lot smoother that way. You'll feel a lot more stable, and you'll grow a lot. You'll feel a lot freer. I feel like it's kind of the point of life, living in a way that feels free and powerful. I don't mean like powerful, maybe a little bit, but not evil, right? Working for God, at least I do. Do whatever feels right to you, but that's what I do anyway. Have a lovely day. Thank you for listening. I'm gonna actually end the video this time.